since Dustin's not here, miss you, Dustin. Let's start this thing. Yeah, absolutely. And there's only one way I know how.
Exactly, yeah. So let's get on in position. So, well, as usual, no edits, no filter. January 6th, take 1.
John, what do we talk about on No Edits?
Autism sports movies.
That's right. Although today, our guest actually covered 2 of those 3. Our guest today is my friend Shelby Stephens.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
I would normally ask what the topic is, but the topic can kind of speak for itself. Nashvillians and Memphians, Shelby was on Fox 17 and Channel 4 here in Nashville as a multimedia journalist. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was Fox 13, it's the Fox station in Memphis, but they're the same thing, just different cities.
Oh.
And then yeah, so was a multimedia journalist and a news reporter. Yeah. And now I work in marketing, which is very different, but also weirdly the same.
What was it like, I bet, setting up your own shots sometimes?
Really difficult sometimes. It was easy once you got a hold of it, but when you are basically your own editor, your own videographer, and you're on the TV, it can be pretty wild. I learned a lot through college, because I did that a lot in college, how to maneuver it. So you can grab like a light stand and put it where you're gonna sit, and then you can like go and be the camera person and zoom in to make sure that you are not blurry. But it takes a lot of time and effort, because there'd be some times where I'd look back at my shots and I'd be very blurry because I'm the only one doing it. So it was pretty difficult, but it was super fun once you got a hold of it, because it is like, you know, like so many of us as artists, it's a craft in itself. It's just a really technical part of the craft.
What's one memory from Fox 13 or Channel 4 that you'll always remember?
There are a lot of them, you know, especially at Fox 13, as they're a little longer. And I was 21 when I started working there. And so I just remember the stress of being in a real job for the first time, and it being in a really big market that a lot of, you know, violence sometimes happens. So it was really interesting to learn about the world as I was becoming an adult really fast. And so there's a lot of like, you know, meeting families who have lost people and stuff like that, that is gonna stick with me for forever in a good way, just because it taught me so much about life. But the fun one, which I'm guessing you're asking about,
yes,
is my Garth Brooks incident, which is the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because I was at a Habitat for Humanity build up in North Nashville, and I was just, you know, supposed to be there talking about the workers. And we were told, you know, you're not going to get close to a celebrity. Sorry, it's not going to happen. And you're like, it's fine. We're here to talk about the good stuff that's going on, even though there were some celebrities there. And I was just on at noon talking about all the people going into lunch after a hard morning working on these houses. And I just turn around and there's this random guy standing next to me. And if you think about Garth Brooks, he looks like a normal dude when he's not on stage. And so my first thought looking at him was, oh no, somebody just got in my live shot and is just trying to mess it up and they're being weird. But then the 2 people that I am most intrigued, like who I fangirl the most, are Garth Brooks and Dolly Parton. So even though he looks normal, I knew who he was once I actually looked up at his face, and I freaked out. And so I had this like very low voice for news talking about how everything was great, and then I look up and see Garth Brooks and go, hi! And I'm on TV, and so I'll never forget that. I have this still picture. The reason why it's the worst experience is because I totally messed it up. I had one of these mics on, so I didn't know if people could hear him, and he was trying to talk to the audience, so I was trying to be like, yeah, awesome, so glad they're doing great, because he was being like, hey, aren't these guys awesome what they're doing? In Garth's, you know, way. And I'm like, yeah, okay, roll the clip. Because I couldn't handle it, knowing people were watching me fangirl. But it was the best because he was so kind, and you know, he was like eating a banana because it was lunchtime, and then behind him was Trisha laughing at us. So it was a really funny and just random event that I'll never ever forget because I am the biggest fangirl for Garth Brooks. So yeah, those are my two.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you or your news station have bodyguards for dangerous assignments?
That's a really good question. So I worked when all the protests were happening in 2020. I was working as a news reporter here at Channel 4. And so in those situations, they were really awesome. And they saw after the first night where it started getting a little dangerous, they got us bodyguards for the next couple days as tensions were really heated. And then, you know, stuff like that. We will definitely get bodyguards. But for the most part, we are out on our own. The good thing is, especially, so when you're a multimedia journalist and I'm doing all of the stuff, news organizations are really good about hearing your no. So if I think it's too dangerous, especially being from Memphis and knowing certain places and not wanting to be by myself looking at a camera, which means I can't look everywhere else, I will say, no, I'm not going to do that. And they'll say, okay, if it's for your safety, understood. But if you go out with a camera person, you're able to look out for each other. So that makes it a little more safe. So, yeah.
Have you ever been on CNN?
Have I ever been on it?
Yeah.
No. No, I never made it to network. But, you know, a lot of, especially Nashville, but Memphis too, when big events happen, they will put local news people on CNN and all of those news organizations, but I never made it.
And what makes all the sacrifices worthwhile, such as working holidays?
Yeah, that's a good question too, because it's something that, looking back, I have to really think about now. Why I decided to make those choices, because now I'm no longer in news. My husband, Zach, he got a job in Maui, Hawaii in 2020, and so there's not a news station in Maui. So God was literally like, I don't want you to do this anymore. I'm going to put you on an island where you can't do it. So I no longer do it, and I think a lot about those sacrifices now that I'm able to do Christmas with my family, which I did this year and was able to host for the first time this year, being back home. I think the sacrifices are easy to make when you love what you do. And I loved what I did. I really loved it when I was in it. And so it was hard when you were at like Crimes on Christmas Day and you know your family is sitting eating dinner together, you know, or going to church Christmas Eve service and you're unable to go. But I've had the opportunity to work in markets where my family is. So after my shift, I'm able to go home and be with them, and it makes it sweeter. And I know that I did a good thing for people who needed to get their stories heard. So.
How long did y'all live in Hawaii?
We lived in Hawaii for a little under a year. Yeah, so he got a job there randomly. He's not in the military or anything. He works in healthcare. And administration side, and so he had this opportunity, and we're like, we can't not go. So it was a fun year.
I got one. All right, so Shelby, you mentioned that you've had a schedule that's mostly in the mornings. Did you ever have to work in the early mornings?
Oh yeah. So we would have to work. I would wake up at 2. I'd have to be in work at 3 or 3:30, depending on the station. And then I'd have to be on TV by sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. So I watch the sunrise every day. I do kind of miss the sunrises. Do I wake up early enough to see them now because I miss them so much? No. But I do miss those days. I was really waking up with the world, and it was really cool to see.
Perhaps, but of course I've been aware of occasions like that because I'm sure like a lot of us would rather have our sleep instead.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've had the opportunity to catch you live once.
Nice.
I think you were covering something with the Titans, maybe. It's been at least 3 years at this point, so I can't remember.
Yeah.
What was it like? Much like right now, what was it like being the interviewee for a piece on you and Zach for Channel 4?
It was weird because so for context, as I was a reporter in 2020 at Channel 4, my husband and I, our wedding was obviously postponed, canceled because of COVID. So we decided to do a Zoom wedding where even our pastor but every family member, every guest was on Zoom. And so my news station did a story on it. And it was weird because it was my coworker who, you just like, you guys always hang out. Like, it's so weird to be interviewed by your peer.
Yeah.
And you know his tactics. Like, especially with Zach next to me, who didn't know how to interview like I did. Him trying to get him to say certain things about how he was feeling, his tactics of how to do that. I was just sitting there like trying not to laugh. It was fun though, it was really cool.
If I know Zach, he was probably trying to make a fool of himself.
How'd y'all kiss for the computer?
The cameras were on. The camera was on.
Yeah, we set it up. The place that we got married at set it up right there, so we were like holding each other's hands, and you can kind of see us in a shot like TV. It's really cool.
All right, I got one. So what made you want to get into news reporting in the first place?
So I, in the 5th grade, I went to, so they have one here actually, Junior Achievement. If you guys went through public school, they have the Jabiztown. And so, so I was the news reporter at Jabiztown in the 5th grade. And I loved it so much that I decided that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So my high school had a TV production studio, and so I was able to just, since I was 14, do packages and all the fun stuff.
Yeah, Biztown's actually just down the road.
Yeah.
We've looked at taking all of us and going and doing one of those things.
You should do it. It's so fun.
For context, guys, when Shelby just talked about packages, that's what the little 2-3 minute clips that you would see on the news, those are what's called packages.
Yeah, so when the anchor is like, Shelby Stephens is talking about how Garth Brooks is having a concert and they shoot it over and then you see a bunch of like B-roll and stuff. That's a package.
With all that stuff going through school when it comes to all that early video stuff, that just reminded me, that's how my Uptime in video production began. When I was in high school, yeah. And at least at that time, I actually anchored it on the school channel.
Same here.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing you and I have in common, Shelby.
That's awesome. Yeah, I still talk to my Collierville AM friends. We were on Collierville AM together every morning. Wow. It's special. That's super cool. You did that too.
Hey, I'm Daniel. So what college did you go to for this multimedia journalist?
Journalism school. Yeah. Okay. It's different because there is like digital, now there's digital media, there's multimedia and all that stuff. But when I was at school, I went to the University of Mississippi, so Ole Miss, and they have a journalism program. So I studied broadcast journalism there. And so like high school, I went from my high school news program to my college news program, which was obviously one step above, but very similar. So I learned a lot there and was able to get a lot of skills through their department there.
What was one of your most enjoyable things that you did for academia related?
Yeah.
For that degree, that's the word I'm looking for.
So one is not class and one is class, so I'll just give you both. So my favorite class I took was all about performance. We were broadcast journalism, but this was only one class that I got to take where you learn different things like how to breathe while sitting down, how to talk with your hands. We even learned how to like do our voices, and they actually don't want you to do it really newsy. Y'all know they like the news voice. They want you to be more authentic, and because we were all journalism students, I guess we all thought we had to pretend we were like journalism people with our voices, and so it taught us how to verbalize like ourselves but still professional. So that one was really cool, and it was my favorite professor, Dr. DuPont. And then the non-school thing, I did a lot of things. I had like 4 jobs at one point, and they're mostly out of the student media department. So like I said, that news thing, it was completely voluntary, but you could do a student-run show, in the evenings, and I worked there 5 days a week for like a year and a half, and it was really fun.
Oh, and speaking of the NFL, I have 8 favorite teams in that league.
8.
Yes.
Ooh.
They all have one thing in common.
Okay, what are they?
Mascots who always wear pants. That's why I'm so supportive of North Alabama.
I gotta think, I think the Ole Miss, I mean, this is college, right? But I think the Ole Miss Land Shark wears pants. So I think we're good.
We may have to do research on that.
We may. I might be wrong.
I know you said multimedia journalists usually set it up by themselves, shoot, edit. Were there times at either station that you had a camera person with you?
Yeah, so when I got my job in Nashville, that was the thing. I went from being an MMJ in Memphis to being a news reporter. Technically, that was my new role, even though they look the same on TV, but they're different in the fact that quote-unquote news reporter has a camera person. So I had one throughout my time in Nashville.
I know it's called something different, but I always called it the CIA wire. What was it like having several different voices come through that come through the IFE piece?
It was confusing, very confusing and stressful because your people would be talking to you in your ear while you were at a scene of some sort. So like a convention or something, people are coming up to you and wanting to talk to you and say hi. And then you're like, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear what you said because somebody was talking to me in my ear, and you can't, and my hair is so thick. Nobody could see there was something in my ear. So it was really confusing, but it was good to have them in my ear when I needed information. That's for sure.
Now that TikTok's a thing, what was it like going from news reporter and shifting into brand ambassador?
Yeah.
For Scrunchy?
It's called Scuncy, but everybody gets it wrong. So you're not the only one. We actually have a full video on how to say it. So yeah, I work with Scuncy, and I work with actually Durham Skincare Shop, which is an affiliate of Zach's work.
Okay.
And then a couple different other pages. And that's a freelance thing that I do on the side. I have a full-time position as a content writer where I do a lot of social media for them too, but we don't have a TikTok yet. I'm trying to get one. But it's been really cool to see how my work in news is able to transfer over into TikTok. Of course, very different subjects, right? I'm able to smile a lot more and be silly on it. But it's been really cool because I use the same editing software, and I can do it really fast for these brands that don't expect me to be able to do all that just because of my experience in news.
What software do you usually edit in? Premiere, Final Cut, or DaVinci Resolve?
So I've done Final Cut before, but I am 100% an Adobe girl. I used it all throughout college, and so I got really good at it because I was working on it 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And then I used it all throughout my Memphis time as an MMJ, which was every day. Yeah, I use Premiere, and they have this really cool app now, Premiere Rush. So sometimes I don't even have to get on my computer. I can just do everything from my phone, which is really neat.
Okay, now do we have any other questions before we get John to wrap it? And it will be a little crude when John raps.
Okay, do you have any questions for any of us?
Actually, that is a good question, Leo.
Yeah, that is a really good question. Okay, let me think on this. So I talked a little bit about how I got into my kind of passion as a news reporter that turned into marketing and working as a brand ambassador, the thing that like got me into it. Do you guys want to share with me how you got into your creative fields, whatever that may be?
Okay, my creative field is writing, mainly fan fiction. How I got into that was I was inspired by a lot of guys and gals on YouTube, mainly Sonic Sprite videos and Angry German Kid videos. With the Angry German Kid, you can make Norman Kochanowski say whatever you want him to say just by adding the desired subtitles.
That's fun. Yeah, I mean, it's like the new version of, news reporters saying that they got inspired by watching the news. Like, you watched what you wanted to do and you were like, I think I would like to make that. That's cool.
Yeah, so could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, how did you get inspired to do whatever creative thing you love to do and is your passion?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was listening. So basically how I got into the creative field was I took a class at Lipscomb, and it was with the voice of Larry the Cucumber from VeggieTales.
Yes.
Yes, I know him personally, Mike Naraki. I took some voiceover acting classes and writing for animation with him. So I thought, I would love to do voiceovers for cartoons and booths and stuff. That would be my dream. And here I am at On the Avenue. We have a booth, and, I like to draw away. I like to, just have creative freedom. I like to be creative. So, yeah, that's pretty much what got me into the creative field.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is super cool. As someone who, I don't use my voice a lot anymore, but used to for news, I love that you're into the voice stuff. It's really cool.
Thank you so much. I wish I could do some voices for you, but I think I got to pass along to somebody else.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say for me, I just happened to fall into video editing with iMovie and the easy to use templates. And then as I started not using the templates and just tried to use it and just started to do my own thing. But I have, as with anything, you get progressively better and better. Like I don't even watch some of the template videos I've done anymore because I know I've gotten way better than just using a pre-done template and figuring out where to put all the assets.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's same. I don't like watching the stuff I did before. But I did that too when I was a kid, even just, my mom had iMovie on her school computer, and I'd take it in the summers when I was bored. And that's what got me into editing too, so that's cool.
I got in the draw. I was at Gill for 24 years before I used before I got in this place right here, and when I first came here, I worked some until they didn't have enough work. I started coming to school here and all that, and I started drawing and all that, typing and all that.
You actually do have a music alter ego too.
Yeah, poor
Really?
Angelo.
Oh, cool. So you're like a jack of all trades. You do it all. That's neat.
I'll send you and Zach a couple of song links.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You fit right in Nashville with all the songwriters.
Seriously.
Anybody else? I'd love hearing these.
Maybe I'll share a little more. So other than that school channel I was in, I mean, at least at the time I was in the broadcasting class for 3 years, and we even did countless other projects at the time as well. Such stuff like music videos and short films, stuff like that. I mean, not like they were just casual projects. I mean, nothing too fancy though, other than the school channel. But yeah, so it kind of told me at the time that I can be creative in my own way based on how I've been able to contribute with the class. And that's how I ended up at Lipscomb, before me and JD ever met. Yeah, and pretty much the same stuff, creating short little movies. And then of course then that was pretty much it. Then I ended up here, and yeah, still keeping that creativity alive.
I remember I did music videos too. I got to figure out what school you went to because it sounds very similar to mine.
Oh. Well, mine was Summit High School in Spring Hill.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I did music videos. We did one to Hit Me Baby One More Time, and we hit one of our classmates. Pretended, the fake actor version.
There you go.
You know, but those are so fun, being able to make music videos.
So I got into editing and all that by not doing it. I spent 2.5 years doing personal finance, a major like that, and eventually realized that I was so jealous of my dorm mate who was a cinema major, and I just kept constantly like asking him what he was doing, and I'm just over here taking tests and not knowing what anything means in finance. So I actually haven't pursued film school until a couple months ago, so I'll be going up next year, next semester to probably to MTSU. So
Oh my goodness, it's a good film school, journalism school.
is it?
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Shelby, this has been absolutely great having you on. I've only speaking for myself here, but I've gained so much of an insight into the other side of the news, because I'm so used to just seeing everything set up and flawlessly executed. Mm-hmm. So from the Avenue, I wanted to thank you. And John, I think you know what to do now.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
No
for having me.
problem.
It's been awesome.
Big ass tacos.
There we go.